The caste discrimination in India's premier institutions like IITs and IIMs is a long pending issue and yet to be resolved. And IIT Madras is not an exception. So, but very few personalities speak out against this caste discrimination, and we are now joined by Professor Vipin, who just spoke out against this matter and fighting for against the discrimination inside the campus. Hello sir, welcome to ETV Bharat.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so the first thing I want to ask that you have alleged discrimination inside the campus. So, in what way you face discrimination? So, can you please elaborate that?
Yeah. So, when we say discrimination, or at least when I said discrimination, I have faced it in three distinct ways. The first of which is differential treatment. And this is what the press has covered by and large. That is, I tried to teach a new course, I was not offered it, a Brahmin faculty member was offered it, and so on. And this is, my case is one case. There are people who would tell you stories about promotion, that, the particular person was denied promotion, whereas, if you're from a different caste, you're helped in your promotion, so on and so forth. So one issue of discrimination is differential treatment. The other issue with discrimination is exclusion. So, for instance, there are some centers in IIT. One of them is a center called Center for Technology and Public Policy. Another is the Bose Center for Big Data and Data Sciences. And this Bose Center is something that I wanted to join. And when I joined IIT, I expressed interest to be a part of it. I've had several conversations with them. But I have never been invited to even present a paper at the center, let alone be a part of the center. And you must understand that scientific work happens in clubs. And because within clubs emerges collaborations, right? And if you are excluded from certain clubs, you are excluded from collaborations and contributions to science in some senses. And if you go to the website of the Bose Center, you will see that vast majority of the members of this Bose Center are Brahmins. And there is no button on the website where you can click the button and say, I wish to join the center. The intake to the center is all done through social networks, and when the social network is built around caste, if you're not from that caste, you are indirectly excluded. So that's the second part. The third bit is humiliation, and I have experienced humiliation on two occasions in IIT, both at the hands of the present head of the department. One case, I'll tell you one case where he called me into his office to discuss something which had to do with grading, and the discussion went on to certain other matters, and I said, such and such, and I have experienced discrimination in this department, and he turned back to me and said, oh, I don't remember anything, can you explain everything to me again? Now note that this same person has been the recipient of several emails from me about discrimination I faced, and he himself 6 months or so before that told me that if you have evidence, you should go take it to authorities and prove it. So he knows everything, but again he'll sort of feign ignorance and want you to repeat the experiences that you've had. So it's a sense of kind of trying to humiliate you in some ways, right? So it's just one of this. So I have experienced all three aspects of discrimination, which is differential treatment, exclusion, and humiliation.
So, you have complained to the OBC Commission, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, how satisfied with the work of the commission?
I can't in general comment on the work of the OBC Commission. I don't know enough about it, but I can tell you about my experience. So, I complained to the OBC Commission. Well, fairly long ago, but within the month of August. But it's been a while. But I received a letter from the OBC Commission yesterday. And the letter is dated 18th of August. I have received, the letter is sent to the director, and I am a recipient of a copy of the letter. And the commission instructs the director to conduct an inquiry and submit a report within 7 days. Now this is problematic in two distinct ways. The first is that I have complained to the OBC Commission, and they must understand that if I have reached out to them, it must be because I have exhausted mechanisms of complaint within the institute, or I feel unsatisfied with the grievance addressal mechanisms within the institute, which is why I have reached out to the OBC Commission. Therefore, the commission instructing the director to conduct a fair inquiry, right, doesn't sort of seems odd in the light of the fact that I've complained to the commission. They've put the ball in IIT's court again, in some senses. The other issue is they said submit a report to us within 7 days. Very, very difficult to go through the question of caste that I have experienced in the last 2 years. And if you look at what I said earlier, differential treatment, exclusion, and humiliation. And for the differential treatment bit, which is what most of the press has covered, there is sizable amount of documentation in terms of emails that have been exchanged by people. To look into all that material, to interview all the people involved, would take at least 3 to 6 months. These are not trivial matters that can be resolved within, studied or resolved within 7 days. So I think these are both problems. So one of the things we need to change is whenever someone reports a complaint to the OBC Commission or SC/ST Commission, the Commission must appoint their members to investigate the matter.
Okay. So
okay, I turned too much to him.
Okay. So, so apart from this, on a day-to-day basis, do you face discrimination inside the campus in the residential area? And another part is that sorry, cut பண்ணிக்கோங்க திரும்ப போய்க்கலாம் என்னமோ கேட்கணும்னு நினைச்சேன். So whenever the issue of diversity inside the IITs came up, the meritocracy is a card played by the those who in the institutions. So can you please elaborate the process? What they define as merit on the basis of the faculties and the PhD scholars are selected.
So Vaidishwaran, you ask a very important question, right? Now, one of the things we must understand that the caste society in India was an anti-meritocratic society. That is not a society which allows you to move to positions and have occupations based on your qualities, but it was based on birth. So we are in a process of transition from a caste society to a open society. Hopefully that is the direction which we are going. So we must understand that any organization in India, private or public, will tend to have some shadows of the past. Those are unavoidable. Okay? We must be able to deal with that in some manner. Now, as far as the recruitment of faculty is concerned, so let me talk about faculty because that is where judgment enters, because judgment is least in the recruitment of BTech students because they have to write an exam. There you can talk about the questions of merit in terms of which students had access to what resources at what points of time in their life. Some may be very intelligent but did not get IIT coaching, or even no. Yesterday I met a gentleman who had lived in Dharavi. It was at the age of 25 that he knew that there is something called IIT Bombay, and he wanted to apply, but he was not eligible because of the age. So that's a different question. But now, even if you take sort of a primitive view of merit, you see that in faculty recruitment, there are various areas where judgments enter. The first area is what vacancies to advertise. We are a department of humanities and social sciences. This is true of other departments, other institutes, but I am speaking about what I know best. Should we advertise a position in sociology? Should we advertise a position in the history of science? Should we advertise a position in climate economics? We may have multiple openings. What should we advertise? Now suppose vast majority of the members of the department are from one caste or community, and we know someone from our community who wants a job in the department. We may advertise a position which he or she would fit into. So that is the first point of where discrimination can enter, or caste forces can enter. Or first point. Second point. Now, even if you put an advertisement which is not from that intention, you wanted to recruit very good people and you genuinely had the need for an economist, lots of people will apply. Some people have PhDs from University of Michigan, somebody has the University of George Mason, somebody has a PhD from a university in Spain, somebody has a PhD from the Indian Statistical Institute, all good places. All 4 people have published in different journals. Now, how do you evaluate these applications and how do you shortlist them for interview? Again, judgment enters, and there is a place that caste sentiments can play a role, because you cannot aggregate these things into some point or number formula. Next stage is interview. Now, suppose someone's called in for an interview. What kind of questions should be asked of the person? Now, if I want to recruit you, Vaidishwaran, I'm certain I can ask some questions in which you will excel. If I want to reject you, I'm certain I can ask some questions you will absolutely fail in. Right? So, if I have certain caste intentions, then those can also be expressed at the stage of interview. So, there is nothing in the government system which incentivizes bureaucrats to recruit on the basis of merit. In fact, there is a great deal of incentives for bureaucrats to recruit on the basis of caste and community, because your caste and community will reward you informally for having recruited those people. Right? So, there is nothing inherently meritocratic in the system. This is not to say, some outlets said that Vipin has said there is no merit in IIT. That's not the point I was trying to make. The point is that various forces play a role. Merit is not the only one. Caste too plays a role, and a sizable role in recruitment. And the extent to which caste plays a role will vary from institution to institution. But in some institutions, it may not be caste, it may be ideology. We all belong to we share ideology. Somebody comes who is very meritocratic, but we don't share this person's ideology. We have all those 3 or 4 stages at which we can reject the person. And it's not a black and white question where the person can challenge us or go to court. There is no entrance exam to hire professors in IIT, in the same way that there is no entrance exam to be a part of to be an economic advisor to the Prime Minister of India. These are all places where judgment is exercised.
So you want that interview process, the recruitment process, to be more transparent and accountable.
Now, Vaidishwaran, the issue is that there is no easy way to make that happen. You cannot make that. There is, within the government system, one possibility is to enforce a certain degree of affirmative action. Okay, so marginally the government system can be improved, but big changes will only happen if you open up the supply side of education. Right now, for instance, it's very difficult to set up new universities in India. The whole system is highly regulated. We need a system where there is freedom for people to set up new universities, whether they are Indians or not Indians. We need a system where American, British, French, Japanese universities can come and set up campuses in India, and they start competing for students and faculty. So if I am at IIT and I feel discriminated against, I should be able to leave to another university, and there should be a flourishing supply side. On the demand side, we need to start funding students. Now what will happen is that if IIT is a place which is discriminating against people, and faculty members start leaving because they want better places and there are better places available, students will also leave. And if you start funding students, the funds will also leave with the students. So you can give each student a voucher, which the student can use in any university he or she wishes to study in. In such a system, there will be an incentive for the people who run universities to not discriminate, or to put differently, to recruit on the basis of merit. It is not something that you can easily legislate about. With legislation, you can bring about marginal changes in the government system. But for the larger changes to happen, you need to open up the supply side of education in India.
Okay, it's quite insightful, your view on that inclusion. So, on an ending note, how do you see that a positive change happening in the short term?
Well, I think for positive changes in the short term, we need to be patient, because in the short term, how we feel really is a question of how we are able to manage our psyche. If we want changes, sizable changes in our society, in our community, how we interact with each other, it's a long-term project, and that project must involve an attempt to create an open society, and that must involve an attempt to understand that we can, how do I put it, that an attempt to live together, accepting each other's different ways of life. right? I am not sure an approach where we are going to, where you would violently break the poonuls of Brahmins is the right way to go. That community has certain beliefs, certain rituals. That's how they want to live. Other communities have other beliefs and rituals. The idea is not to create some kind of homogeneity. Tell me which religion does not believe that its people are the chosen ones and others are yet to be enlightened. Brahmins are not the only one. So the idea is that each community, while practicing their own beliefs, rituals, practices, when we come together in shared spaces, how do we interact in the shared spaces such that caste becomes not the only or primary dimension of life through which we meet each other? And I think that's a long process, and we must be patient. This kind of a thing, submit a report within 7 days, I'm not sure that's the way to go forward. We must let time pass.
Thank you, Professor Vipin Vittal. Thanks for your time and joining us.
I'm very happy to join. Thank you for having had me over.